I think probably about 2 weeks ago or so, I ran out of milk and I was not able to make my milk kefir. Somebody with a little more forethought would have thought to actually put said milk kefir in the fridge. One might think that it would be a good idea to use the last little bit of the milk to pop it in the fridge and let it kind of chill there until I got some more milk. I wasn't planning on going that long without getting milk, so I did not do that. Instead, I just kept looking at it while it was on the counter for about a week, and then I finally popped it in the fridge. A few days ago, I did go get more milk. So we're gonna see if we can save the milk kefir, because already as it is, I have way too many grains than what is needed to culture the amount of milk kefir that I have going. It could be dead. It really could be dead. We'll know within a couple of days, but I'm really hoping it's not, because this is the best milk kefir grains I've ever heard of. I've really missed having milk kefir. Also, it is so good for the gut. It is so good to, you know, you can just have a nice, you just have like a nice a drink to it. It's almost like a milkshake, a cold milkshake, not a frozen milkshake. You just add a little bit of like some drops of this stuff, and it's just a nice meal replacement, so to speak, depending on how much of it you actually have. It is phenomenal for your gut microbiome. It is actually lab tested. It is proven to be the most powerful probiotic food on earth. And I think it's even better if you have it with raw milk, which is what I use. I use just raw milk that I get from a local homestead. It is grass-fed, it is organic, you know, pretty darn good stuff. So I really want to get back into making the milk kefir, because I have a couple days before this video is going to go live. We should have enough time, hopefully, to find out if the grains are dead or alive. So let's make some kefir. Normally I do not use this, but I think it's going to be very thick. And I'm just going to do an initial straining with this guy here. And then, okay, it doesn't smell putrid, so that's good. I just think it'll be a little bit easier to get the grains separated. So that's what I'm doing in here. See, way too many grains. I don't know if you can see that clearly, but I've got probably a cup of grains in here. It's just way more than what I need. So my goal for this week, assuming these are still alive, which I'm gonna verify before I actually send them, I need to send these off to a couple of friends that I had promised this to an embarrassingly long time ago. So now I'm just gonna run it through a sieve to catch the smaller little bits. A few little grains got through, but not enough to really matter. And now, put the grains in the milk. This time around, I am going to put all of them in there because I just want to make sure they're all activated. And we'll just check on this about the same time tomorrow. Not sealing it, I'm just putting it on there. Or I'm not making it tight. Now I'm betting this stuff is probably pretty dang ripe, but I want to try it out, see if it's something I'm willing to consume. Because like I said, I had this on the counter, it was more than a week fermenting at room temperature, so. Whew. That's sour, but it's not rotten. Obviously. I mean, I'll have that in small doses with lots of this stuff in there. This is definitely a candidate for something to turn into a smoothie. Adding lots of sweetness to it and having it in limited amounts. So that's my plan for this thing. Whew. You just gotta override it. Put in 2 droppers of that. I'm just about to head outside. It's like 5, a little bit after 5 o'clock, and ready to try and hunt down some chickens, but I figured we would check on our milk kefir. Still liquid. There's some stuff at the bottom, so it is starting to kind of take a little bit, but sometimes it's good. Give it a little swirly, you know. We'll check on it again in the morning. Our milk kefir is solidified. It took think probably about 2.5 days. It's kind of interesting with milk kefir. Oftentimes, not every time, but most of the time I would say, it goes from liquid to almost immediately solid. It like almost just seizes up. It's pretty cool. Not every time, but most of the times I've paid attention, that's been the case. So we're just gonna do exactly what we did before, just hopefully it won't be quite as sour. It doesn't smell as sour. Ooh. It's still frozen. I'm waiting. I just poked it. I am filming, so stay behind me.
Oh, hi. I need to put my shirt on, huh?
No. Why would you? What's up?
Keifr?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So this here is more the amount that is appropriate for what I need. Everything else is excess. And I decided to go ahead and remake the kefir from the stuff that was floating. And I feel like that's probably a good decision for more than one reason. It means it's more active because it was floating, but also as I'm getting further down, the grains are more of an off-white than the ones in here, which are white. It's a noticeable difference as I'm getting further and further down. So part of me questions if these kefir grains might not be good anymore, which would not be surprising in the least. I've neglected these things like crazy. I'm surprised it even became kefir at all. So that's all I really need. I tried to boost production over the summer because I was trying to sell milk kefir here locally, but I didn't end up doing that. So then I just ended up with a ton of extra kefir grains and a bunch of extra kefir, which it didn't go to waste, but it still was way more than what I needed. So just in case I'm wrong, I'm still gonna be saving these other kefir grains. I'm just going to keep them hibernating in the fridge, and I'll just reactivate them every once in a while, and we'll just kind of see how things turn out with that. Okay. So these here are all the extra grains. I was more like 2 cups of extra grains. I thought it was like 1 of total. So. Milk, you gotta shake it. Otherwise all the fat is gonna be used in the first bit, and then the rest is just gonna be like icky non-fat milk. There we go. There we go. And this guy here, I'm gonna label this, and I'm just gonna keep it in the fridge. I'm just gonna write kefir grains on there. And these are just gonna be stored in the fridge if I should need them. I will refresh them probably like every other week or something like that. And then the stuff that we want to culture and keep in perpetuity. I don't know if that's the right word. I'm trying to be fancy here. I usually have a plastic lid, but that one's in the dishwasher. So I'm just gonna use this one. And I just kind of, you know, I don't put it on there tight. I know a lot of people like to use cloths, but I found it's, oh, good, it just beats. After watching something from Donna Schwenk over at Cultures for Health, she suggested doing it this way and said that she just has a lot less issues with it, a lot less contamination, and it just works better. And I find that to be true as well. So that's what we're gonna do. Then, that's milk, so it just goes back in the fridge. And these finished kefirs, this one, since it didn't go for quite so long, these ones I'm gonna leave on the counter, room temperature, just until like I'm ready to go to bed for just a few hours. Usually I like to do it for like 8 to 12 hours, but I don't want it to separate too much. But once I start to see it separate, I'll pop it in the fridge. The second fermentation just helps to bring out even more of the benefits that you get to the kefir. I'm not going to go into super great detail about it, but it also makes it a little bit effervescent, and it intensifies and amplifies a lot of the goodness to it. Second fermentations and just about any drink that you're having that's fermented is generally a good idea. I say that generally because I don't know the methods to all of them, but everyone that I've come across, second fermentation is where it's at. Also, I know that there's a lot of confusion as to how many grains that you need to culture the kefir. I find usually about a tablespoon per pint seems to be just about right. But the amount of grains that you need is a very simple calculation. It is the amount of grains that you need in order to turn the amount of kefir you want every day into kefir. Or rather, it is the amount of grains that you need to turn the amount of milk you want. How do I say that? Figure out how much kefir you want every day, and then use the amount of grains that it takes to accomplish that. It takes a little bit of experimentation with it. There is definitely a pretty big area of forgiveness with that. It's not cut and dry, but generally speaking, like if your kefir is turning into if your milk is turning into kefir long before 24 hours, you have too many grains. If it is nowhere near kefir in 24 hours, you have too little grains. So you just kind of play with it, and it will grow over time, don't worry. And if your milk does take like 2 days to turn into kefir, it's not the end of the world. Don't stress about it too much. Just play with it. The grains do grow, as you've seen. That's why I have so many grains, is because I started with like just a teeny bit, and it's just grown over time. So if you don't have enough to turn the amount you want into kefir in one day, it'll get there. And then you're gonna have to figure out what to do with all your extra grains like I am.